What's up, guys? Go back to a review with Uncharted now in theaters, and to me, I really enjoyed Uncharted. Even though it wasn't like a perfect movie, it was still a fun movie to enjoy it in theaters. Even though with the Uncharted movie, it's based on the video game Uncharted. With Tom Holland and Mark Wahlbergs chemistry on screen, it was like pretty great, and the duo was pretty awesome as well. It's great to visit all the locations that they visit though in this movie, and with some like props and references that are directly from the game itself and that are in this movie. And for that post-credit scene, which could set up a direct sequel to Uncharted if there ever is one. So in this video, this will be my full review of Uncharted, maybe going over all the references and props from the game itself, and talk about what happened in the movie, and to talk about that post-credit scene, which could set up a direct sequel to Uncharted. But if you have not seen the movie, this will be your official spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, if you're trying to avoid spoilers. But if you're still here and you don't care, let's get to it. So now, with how this movie started off, it starts immediately with Nathan Drake as he is flying out of the cargo plane, which like the famous sequences from the games, and then he's got his foot trapped inside of the box, and then he starts flying out, and then he goes directly back into the cargo plane, but before that, he gets directly hit by a car, and then he goes flying into the air, and then it quickly transitions to when Nathan and his brother Sam were like kids, and they're trying to sneak into an orphanage to find the biggest map, probably the biggest treasure that's ever been found, which is like the gold. But then they got caught, which of course Sam did say goodbye to his brother Nathan is because his brother Sam doesn't want to get caught, and then he gives Nathan his necklace so that he doesn't know that he's there with him, which sends Nathan crying, and that now with these postcards, it directly connects to the clues to find the gold or the treasure that's ever been found. And now with Nathan Drake in the present time, he works as a bartender in New York, and with his job as a bartender and making drinks, we see him having chemistry with this girl that adds a sort of little comedy to it. And then with Nathan, he helps the girl have her light her cigarette, and that he steals her bracelet and puts it in his pocket, which like kind of a distraction. And then that's where Nathan slowly meet for the very first time. It was slowly to tell Nathan that like I knew something about like what Nathan is looking for. So that like he reads in books about a land he never visited before to go with Sully, and then when Nathan refuses, he gets Sully's business card with a note that says like do not steal, which is like pretty funny. And with Nathan refusing to go with Sully, the two have a conversation about the treasure that's ever been found, and how like Nathan can like go with Sully, but then with them having a conversation with Sully, he reveals that he used to work with Nathan's brother Sam, and that just one day he goes to Sully one day, and with this reference is directly from the MCU, because we know Tom Holland's role as Spidey in the MCU about that one time he goes to Nick Fury in Spider-Man Far From Home, and now with Nathan telling Sully about the biggest treasure that has never been found, this Sully reveals to Nathan that he believes that his brother left one final clue, and that with that gold is worth a lot, like $5 billion, which is like a lot. But then the moment Nathan decides, he decides to go with Sully. And now, with the adventure that Nathan and Sully are heading on, they stumble upon into an auction where like the cross made out of gold is up for bidding at the auction, and then we see Nathan look at the cross, and then we see Antonio Banderas' character, who is a Santiago, and then we see him looking at the gold too, and now with the cross made of gold that Nathan and Santiago are looking at, and with this cross, it's called the sand that is made of a cross from the Uncharted game called Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, which with this movie Uncharted, this is like directly from Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, so there's like props and artifacts in here that relate directly from the game. And then we hear Santiago saying that how his family was looking for that cross for centuries. And then we see the auction where we see that the cross made of gold is up for bidding. And then we see Santiago and Sully both bidding on the cross. And then we see Nathan probably trying to cause a distraction. And then he gets caught with this guy saying some things that are like pretty funny with the way he said it. And then we see Nathan being thrown into a table. And then we see this awesome sequence where like this whole thing where like Nathan and Sully were trying trying to get out of the auction. And then with Nathan being caught, we see him swing on some legs, kind of like some like Spidey action. And then we see Nathan Sully in the car, which Sully managed to get the cross, which is made of gold from the auction, but before it went gone to Santiago. And then with the two, they accomplished the mission, and then they go all the way out to Barcelona, Spain. And then we see them going all the way to Barcelona, Spain, where they meet with Sophie Ali's character, who is Chloe, in which it revealed that she has another cross, in which it revealed that she has not like Sully, and then with that she shows Nathan's cross, which Nathan Sully needed to complete the mission to find the gold of the hidden treasure. And then with that, the two go after Chloe and to get the cross as well, but because Sully like told Nathan that like with Chloe she could not be trusted. And then we see him going inside of like a church and trying to get into the chamber to try and find the gold. And then with the two crosses, they tried to again the first time, and the first attempt like didn't work, and then the second time it worked as well. And then we see just Nathan and Chloe going into the chamber to find the gold. And then we see him like finding the clues, and then we see Nathan like, using the key with the cross, like turning it to find the gold inside. And then we see Nathan and Chloe going to the goal itself, and then we see the reveal, and with the goal, it was not in there, it was just a salt. And now with Nathan, he finds the map that references by earlier in the beginning of the movie with him and his brother saying we're kids, that they found the map of a hidden treasure that has never been found. And with which we get the shocking truth that like with Chloe, she actually betrays Nathan and like pushes him or like hits him, and then like takes the map to go to Santiago, because with Chloe, like she works for them. And then we got like the shocking truth from Sully about what really happened to Nathan's brother Sam, which like Sully tells him that like Sam is gone and that he died, and which Nathan is so pissed off at Sully, and the two decided to split up and go in separate ways. And then we see it's up to Nathan to try and figure out the rest of the treasure, or like to see to figure out the hidden treasure. And then we see Chloe with them as well. And then we see the most awesome sequence ever in this movie, which is of course the cargo plane sequence as well. And we see Nathan being like flown at the plane with all the boxes as well. And then it ends with them being hit by a car by Chloe. And then we see Nathan being flown into the air. And then we see Nathan and Chloe landing into a resort. And then we get cameo by Nolan North, who is also a hotel guest, who is also the voice of Nathan Drake in the video in the Uncharted game. And then we get to this one point where Nathan finally figures out the treasure of where it is by using the postcard that his brother left from as like a clues, like to help him figure out where the treasure is, and saying that the key is a compass. And then he gathers up the two crosses together, and then puts it on the map, and then it shows him the direct location of where the gold actually is. And then we see him the next day sleeping with the coordinates and his phone with Chloe there, like she like goes to the coordinates, but ends up in the wrong coordinates as Nathan tells her. And then we see Nathan going on like a boat ride to the right location, to the right coordinates to find the gold. And then he stumbles upon like two pirate ships, and with the key that's one from the postcard that leads Nathan directly to the treasure, like filled with the gold, the treasure that's never been found. We see the two pirate ships where the gold is. And then we find Sully finding Nathan after the two split up. And then with Nathan, he finally gives Sully the treasure, and tells him that his brother would have been like proud of Nathan for finding the gold. And now within the third act of the movie, we see Nathan slowly being lifted into the air by Joe and the rest of the crew as well. And now with the final fight, it takes place on the pirate ship, and then we see Nathan slowly fighting Joe and the rest of the gang as well. And then we see slowly in a helicopter try to lead like them out of the final fight. And then with Nathan, he tries to bring slowly the treasure and the gold. And then with Joe, he tries to go after Nathan, like just to go with slowly just with the gold itself. And then with slowly, he like actually sacrifices the gold, which Nathan found because of Sam. He slowly sacrifices the gold just to get rid of Joe, and then actually destroy the pirate ship. And then like Nathan slowly actually sailed out of the final battle, and then it ended from there. And now within the last scene of the movie, we see it kind of looks like Nathan's brother Sam with the beard, as like Nathan described Sam. And now that he is older, he is now in prison writing a postcard to Nathan. And now with that, we kind of assumed that like Sam was like still alive after slowly revealed to Nathan that like Sam was dead, but he had to be alive somehow. But we see him in prison. And now with this post-credit scene, it shows Nathan and Sam at the bar, at which Nathan gives Sam the gold, which are the treasure he wanted. And then with his brother Sam and his men pointing the guns at him, ready to shoot him, including for his brother himself. We see Sully show up at the bar. We see the mustache on Sully from the game, and then we see Nathan taking everything from Sam and saying that he got what he wanted, and Nathan got what he wanted as well. And then we see Nathan and Sully leaving the bar at the same time, with Nathan pointing the gun probably at Sam as well. With Sam saying to Nathan he's got a lot of friends. And then we see him leaving the bar, and then it ends with them looking at something, but it fades to black, and we don't see what they're looking at. So the question is, what were Nathan and Sully looking at? And maybe it could lead to sometime if there's ever a sequel. And yeah, with Uncharted, like as I said, it wasn't like a perfect movie, but instead it was a fun movie to enjoy in theaters. And with Nathan and Sully's chemistry in this movie, it's pretty great as well. Especially we got to see him like visiting many different locations as well, such as Barcelona and many other locations as well. And with that post-credit scene, which definitely I mean added answers for, and all of us need answers to, it's probably going to be answered and involved probably in like if there's ever a sequel to Uncharted as well. So yeah, I mean I really enjoyed Uncharted. I really enjoyed Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg's performance, and their chemistry in this movie is like super awesome, and I can't wait to see more of Uncharted and where it leads to next. So that's gonna be it for this video. Let me thoughts in the comments down below. What you thought of Uncharted. Give me a rating between 1 out of 10. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the notification bell for future videos. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter for live updates. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.